When I was just a little kid, I don't know what it was, but I always knew that I wanted something to do with game development. I remember little me sitting in the car and telling my parents that the top Roblox developers, like the dudes who made Jailbreak, make millions of dollars. Of course, my parents didn't believe me, but that was 6 to 7 years ago. Fast forward to 2021, I've made several maps for popular games and have over 100,000 in my Roblox account. A perfect time to make a game, right? I got together with a couple of scripter friends and 1.5 years later we released a game called HUMILIATE. You probably haven't ever heard of that game, because, well, it sucked. But why did it suck? It was because I started game development with the wrong mindsets and beliefs that simply it wouldn't work. But now, I'm ready. Let's have a thinking session. What is something that has not been done on Roblox before? What would players like in a game? What is the weirdest shit Roblox players would find funny and enjoyable? How do I make the next front page game and make lots of Robux from it? I got an idea. The game needs an element of goofiness, because you've seen how shit Roblox games have become. But this game will be different and actually good. Goofiness. What about two sides trying to humiliate each other by using funny and strategic abilities? Yes, this is it. The goal of both teams would be to destroy the other team's ego, both mentally and literally. Both teams have their captain whose surname is Ego. Very clever, I know. And both of them hype up their team before the clash. So now that you know how weird this game is, let's dive deeper into the mechanics of the game and figure out how the game will actually function. Each round has two stages, the gathering stage and the combat stage. In the gathering stage, there is no PvP and you gather materials like wood, stone and wheat. And in order to gather the materials, you have tools like an axe, a pickaxe and a hoe. And you also receive a sword which will be more useful in the next stage. I want to make the gathering stage really hooking, so my plan for that is to make it strategic and satisfying. But how will I do that? You know the game called Rust, right? Well, if you don't, then, well, nothing happens. But basically, when you want to chop down a tree, you look for this red X marker on the tree trunk. And when you swing your axe in that exact spot, the tree loses a lot of hit points and the marker moves to a different place on the trunk until the tree is chopped. To make this system more satisfying, I plan on having the pet simulator type droplets each time you hit the tree and just randomly fall around the thing that you're brutally murdering, which you have to collect. But beware, other players can sabotage and take your shit, so be careful. When you've gathered a lot of materials, you return to your ego and hand off your gatherings to him, so he can build a defense for himself, and as a result, more difficult for the enemy to destroy your ego. Now that you've done the preparations, it's time to get into the battle. Before the round started, you chose what kind of magical ability you'd like to have between Fire Ice, Surf, or spawning a tornado. Oh, and also, each team has a maximum of 4 players, and each of them has a unique role by having a different ability. For example, if someone throws you a fireball, you can use your ice power to freeze it, and it just stays there frozen. I'll think about how I'll implement this exactly in the near future, but what I'm thinking is, you can send the fireballs back with your sword, like in Minecraft, or just simply discard the fireball by slashing at it when it comes near. I'll talk about abilities in the future episodes. But now, if you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate and let me know in the comments. But now, how do you win exactly? Well, you destroy their ego. Duh. But okay, jokes aside, let's get to work. Before recording this video, I already created a couple of things, which I'll briefly go over. So the first thing I want to show you is this thing, which basically displays how many materials you have right now. So the way I made this was, I basically have them in a frame right here, and there's a UI list layout. So let's say we added one more, so it just adds one more there. And from the scripting side, which is this script, every time one of these values change, So each time this value changes right here, this changes here. So let me actually just show you in game how that looks. Ignore the rest of the stuff. So we have this here, the material amount right here. And let's say I want to change how many wheat I have. So look, this is gonna be really cool. Yeah, this is really satisfying. So the way I made this pop animation was basically this script is connected with the module script that is right here, which is basically like if you've ever programmed something with CSS that makes the HTML pages look much cleaner. But this is basically the same thing. This is like a module script which I've made that you can access from any script, and you can just easily pass along the UIPs that you want to animate, and it just does it here without having to paste the same script in like a million scripts. The exact way I made this popping animation was I changed the scale object right here. So it actually took me some time to figure out which UI object I should use to animate this. So I went through all of the objects and just found the scale object. Basically, if you change it to a bigger number, it just changes everything. And the rest of these automatically align because there's UI list layout. Yeah, very cool. So the next thing I did after that was I made the round system, which is in the core loops script. So when there's the intermission stage, the weapon is moved back into the equipped folder right here. And when the gathering stage starts, the tools are moved back in the backpack. So the next thing I want to make is actually create a cool toolbar right here. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open up everyone's favorite website called photop.com. Oh, what the fuck? Photop.com, yes. Let's open up a new project. Set the background to transparent. Let's have it kind of big, but not too big. So basically how this works is there's this background thing, and on top of it there's the button that moves. Can you please be other color? Thank you. And there's this small little thing right here. Can you please fucking work? Okay, try to... Okay, there we go, there we go. So you see there's this little thing, and when the button is clicked, it just goes down like this. Both of these things go down. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to program, but let's see. Oh, and actually, I was thinking of making the buttons blue, but this yellow and black actually looks pretty good. So let's see how that works. Actually, just forget about what I said. If you look closely right here, if you look closely when I press both of the buttons, you can notice that there's this little tiny weird thing up there where it kind of intersects. So basically that is because when you click a button, it spawns up there, and when you deselect it, it disappears. Like, just look at this. Yeah, so now that we know how that works, let's actually figure out how to implement that in Roblox Studio.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
My god, I'm finally done. This took way longer than it should have. But okay, let me show you what I got. Now that you can see the final result, it looks kind of similar, but it kind of doesn't. But let me show you how this looks. So let's say we press 1. And oh damn, there's this cool little triangle there. And if we change items, everything changes. When the round ends, everything disappears, and everything... Bro, where's the fucking hoe, bro? I mean the site. Well, ignore that. Yeah, I'm gonna need to fix that. But first, let me show you how I made this work. So basically how this whole thing operates is when the child that is added into the backpack is received in this event, I pass over the child's name over to the order sort function, which, as you can probably tell, orders the added children correctly, because when you come on over to here, the stuff that is replicated to the player, I have a bunch of settings right here, in which you can customize in what order you would like the tools to be, and the keybinds you'd like to activate them with. Another important thing to realize is that when you're looping through a table, Roblox doesn't loop through it in order. It does it pretty randomly, so this kind of makes everything a bit more tedious. So basically, when the child is passed into the order sort function, we're checking in what order the item should be in. So in here we're just adding every item that has been added into the backpack. But you'll ask, what's the point? I've optimized this for the occasions when there aren't 4 items in the backpack. For example, if there are 3. So let's say there are the 4 items, and each of them has a value from 1 to 4 assigned to them. So let's say we remove the 3rd item, or don't include it at all. So that would mean there's a gap between 2 and 4, but that makes our lives hard. So after we've made sure that all of the items that will be added have been added to the backpack, we loop through this table to order and just insert all of the items again from 1 to 4 into the next table currently in the backpack. The items that are added to the to order table aren't added in randomly. We use the value that the player has chosen in which order he'd like the items to be in. We put all of the names in order from the to order table currently in the backpack table, so it goes again from 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 depending on how many items there are. So when that is done, we move on to the next stage, which is putting everything in the final table. But now you may ask, what's the point of another table? Well, in this table we insert the gaps between the items, so every time we need to adjust something in the toolbar, we can just take the reference from the table and display the items however we need. So in the final table we just insert the gaps between the items. So now that the final table has been created, we can start displaying the buttons. Now think about this for a second. None of the tutorials you've watched on YouTube about scripting, you haven't really even taught you how to script. Like, how weird is that? Well, on one hand, I can't really blame them because every person is different and every person understands things at different rates. So the video can't really explain everything. But on a one-on-one coaching session, you can literally ask anything you want and you're gonna receive an answer to that. Because as you've seen from this video where I explained how this stuff works, you can't explain it with just, oh, this is how you script. I explain you precisely the steps, how I made this. And that is basically how scripters think. So if you have any questions about the code or you want to learn to script, so don't hesitate and check out the link in the description, because there I offer one-on-one scripting sessions where I explain you how to think as a scripter. Because you've seen all of these how to script videos and shit, but I'm sure you haven't learned anything, because the problem lies within itself. You want to learn how to script, but that's not the right question to ask. The right question is, how do I think as a scripter? Not how to script, because if you figured out how to script, then you figured out how to think as a scripter, and that's just the base of everything. So if you want me to teach you how I figured out this for myself and waste countless hours trying to figure it out on your own, I highly suggest you check out my page. And also, just to calm you down, if you won't for some reason like my teaching, don't worry, I'll give you a refund, no problem. And this won't be like at school, where you get shamed for asking a stupid question that you should have known already. So don't worry, I'm gonna answer every question you have. But now, if you really like the game's idea or want to suggest something, please join the Discord community of the game. The link is in the description. Oh, and also join my Roblox group, because when the game comes near to the release, I'm gonna allow you to check it out before anyone else, because in order to play you'll need to join the group. This is just so the game builds a community and it's easier for it to grow. So now click here for part 2, and remember, you are just one game away, and I'll see you in the next one.